Hi, I'm sorry that I have to do this in bright sunlight. I've been looking for a quiet place, a little serenity, and because I want to say some things today that I feel are very important. I'm sorry I'm squinting, it's very bright here. I'm going to be reading a lot of this because I don't want to forget anything. So let me just get started. Many of you, or some of you, may have gone to see the exhibit of bodies, and I found out through some Chinese newspapers. I haven't seen it in the American press. If somebody else has, maybe you can let me know. But I found out that the bodies that were presented there weren't people who dedicated their lives to science or that kind of thing, or their bodies to science. In fact, most of them were members of the Buddhist sect called Falun Gong. And if any of you remember, a few years ago there was a large persecution, imprisonment, and even slaughter of those people by the Chinese government. Those are the bodies that showed up and were plasticized. Now, one of the questions is, did the Chinese government receive the order for bodies prior to this persecution of the Falun Gong? Was it at the same time or ongoing? Are they still getting bodies from the Falun Gong victims, since a lot of them have been imprisoned? I'm just going to read this. The bodies sold to the bodies exhibit. We have to ask if the monetary benefits to the Chinese government continue because of the Falun Gong persecution, and of course the ongoing exhibits. We all know that, at least most of us know, that the Chinese government sells organs of supposed criminals that they arrest and take off the street. If the U.S. is allowing this exhibit to come here, which of course they are, knowing the circumstances of where these people and their bodies came from, then we are co-conspirators and possibly even an accomplice as a nation in the deaths of these innocent people. Not only were they killed for their religious beliefs and their pacifistic attitudes, but now their dead bodies are put on display, so they're humiliated also in death. That's the first thing I wanted to say. The second is this. It has to do with Obamacare and one of the really bad things about it. And I'll just read this because I don't want to waste a lot of time. Obamacare Sterilization. I found out that in Oregon in particular this has already started. And what's surprising is that somebody 15 years old can get a sterilization without even talking to their parents about it. So I want to say this. A teen before 18 years of age cannot smoke or vote, and one cannot drink until 21 years of age. Also, a mere aspirin cannot be administered for pain without parental consent. Yet, a 15-year-old child can get an abortion and be sterilized without parental consent. This life-changing, life-altering decision is made by the child, who does not even have the right to smoke, drink alcohol, or run free, with the help of the state and with no parental input. Who has the natural rights of love and posterity? The parent does, not the state. Yet when the state commits these heinous acts, if the child falters, and becomes legally entangled, criminal or otherwise, the state insists the parent is responsible, even if the state has removed decision-making authority and ability to parent from the parent. The state is saying it is God with none of God's responsibilities, and has replaced the natural parents under legislative statute law, which even the American founders did not see coming from government, and having government become this degenerate and evil. So the founding fathers didn't make any real protections for us in our documents to protect us from this. So these people are attacking us at our most vulnerable points, and as a people we keep acquiescing to these things. Criminals such as the mafia kill people when they get out of line. Here we see that mafia criminal tactics used by government against the legitimate parents. Thus, government is criminal and in fact has criminals in its highest offices. The people are consenting to this without redress because of ignorance and fear. There are many assaults on us, this one of thousands, yet we do nothing as a people. What is wrong with us? Therefore, the rulers state, because we do not argue for our rights, we do not deserve them, but they have put us to sleep in this war upon us and our posterity by the use of media, public schooling, fluoride in the water, chemicals in the food and air, and social engineering. Now with the NDAA, the Patriot Act, the Expatriation Act, and numerous other acts illegal upon their origin as they defy the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution, and under Marbury versus Madison, That court stated that any law that violates the Constitution is null and void upon its inception and need not be obeyed. We must awaken to this war upon us and refuse to submit to this illegal and pretentious authority. Furthermore, government by its decree states that parental responsibility for financial support does not end until usually 18 years of age or upon emancipation of the minor. Yet the government does not permit parental guidance or judgment which can influence this monetary support. Thus, providing a minor any government options that supersede parental input voids parental responsibility and emancipates the minor quid pro quo and prima facie, relieving the natural biological parents of any responsibility for that child or children. The government becomes the parent as in the former USSR and as stated in court decisions in the US. Of course, the government will insist on the parental monetary support even as it steals the child away and in effect emancipates it from its parents. This, and therefore these dictatorial powers, is what the government really wants, even if criminally obtained and by all common law reasoning is unlawful usurpation and kidnapping. Now I want to talk about war upon our citizens. The NDAA, the Patriot Act, the Ex-Patriot Act, all of these things. I worked for General Petraeus back in 2001, 2002. And I'm just going to read this again here. General Petraeus in 2002 said to me his goal was to become the U.S.'s foremost expert on terrorism and the greatest counter-terrorist. Yet from my early experience at the U.S. Army Counterterrorism School, the terrorist definitions, which are many, not just one, would include 60% or more, probably much more, of the U.S. under one definition or another, and I tried to warn people. He could not have been so ignorant to not know these many and all-encompassing definitions, and his subsequent acts, both in the military and as director of the CIA, proves his intent to be a traitor, deny the Constitution he swore to uphold, and enslave and destroy his countrymen. David Petraeus, you know I know you. Not real well, but I know you. I've asked the people that control you in a former video, and I've now asking you to repent of what you're doing here. You can't keep doing this to us. Former President Bush gave an ominous warning in this regard to the supposedly free people of the U.S., and this was his quote: "You are either with us or you are with the terrorists." That was shortly after 9/11. In other words, mere disagreement, political opposition, or even if you question your government, you are not with them, and by definition, from his own words, a terrorist. This didn't just start with Obama. Under the NDAA, that is formidable, and the Patriot Act. One can disappear without any due process. The First Amendment is gone, as is the Fourth. And a recent example of that is Marine Brandon Raub, who posted some feelings on Facebook about whether or not he believed that 9/11 was true and how the government is misusing its authority, the wars and other things. This was on Facebook. Government officials, the FBI, the local police, and I believe some officers from DHS showed up at his home unannounced and took him to a psychological ward. This is what they did in the Soviet Union to get rid of dissidents, put them in psychological wards and say that they're insane. Thank goodness for a good attorney that got him out, but it was a terrible ordeal. And this is not only one example. This is going on all the time. So I wanted to bring these things up. These are dangerous, and I want to stand here and say this right now. Brandon Raub, I am with you, and every red-blooded American veteran who understands these things, and all of us should, because we took an oath, and if it violates our oath, we should never do what our superiors ask us. We need to stand against this thing and stand together. So that's how I just wanted to finish this today. I know this is a lot of information very close together, but I'm hoping it'll do the job. Thank you.